recording is on. Do you have a glass of water?
Yes.
So the final checkup. Mhm. Beautiful. All right. Do I look bright enough?
Yes, you do. You look very right.
Beautiful. Oh, hello. Hello, Antoine.
Hello. How are you?
Fabulous. You?
Okay. Tired,
What
but it's
happened?
okay.
What happened?
Today I had to wake up early to visit some public spaces with a young artist who's working on folkloric inspiration based on the giants that you see in Wallonia and in the north of France, who are kind of figures of 2 to 4 meters high. And she wants to do one who's a woman representation, Mademoiselle Victoire. So would be something like yeah, Miss Victory or something like this, who yeah, represents a city, and actually it's a folklore that is only made by men usually. And so she has been always she always felt rejected from that situation. And so she does this performance where she does the portrait of her father with kind of chalk and but very fast like this on the floor, and a giant's father. And then she goes to that giant that she's gonna travel through the neighborhood. Okay, so yeah, business as usual. The only thing was it was early in the morning and it was late last night, so that's why I'm tired.
Oh, yeah. And so you are like a director of the project, or
The project tour, no, studio tour is a kind of is a place where, and now it's a kind of production house, if you want, that is initially regarding dance project. The choreographies of the choreographer named Terry Smith, with whom I work since a long time, and since 2019 we decided to also organize the performance art festival that I used to run in other places. So, namely Trouble, and that took place this year in 25, and Passif Fragile, which is the other platform festival that takes place next April. And so the
next?
girl I was saying is for the this next platform.
Cool. What do you have for drinking?
Water, pure water.
Salute.
Salute.
I also had complicated day. Do you want to
Tell
ask me
me.
something?
Sorry?
Do you have a question for me?
No, no, I want to know what was your complicated day.
Life was complicated with me, and but it's getting better since I met you. I guess it's getting better, and I have a couple questions. Ah, sorry. Usually I'm using my trumpet, but I'm not next to my trumpet these days. I'm in Finland. That's why I have a whistle. It's official
Okay.
part of our talk.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining. And could you introduce yourself? Let's say like within next minute.
How long did you say?
1 minute.
1 minute. That's not possible. I have my
I
CV is
can
10
do.
pages. No, it's okay. I can, of course. So yeah, I'm a person living in Brussels, being a curator of performance art festival, sometimes a performer myself, a writer, mostly about performing arts or gender and sex issues and art, and a professor of performance art in an art school. and
Mhm.
with all this mixed at with different levels depending on the days and the months. Yeah.
I see. Do you have your favorite role in this list?
A favorite role? Well, one role that I haven't been practicing enough in recent times is the role of painter. And I recently, a friend of mine found three paintings I gave him at one point when I stopped painting, and I thought I had nothing to do with it. And actually, I was looking at it, and they were really quite good. And so it made me feel that I should paint more again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have the photos of the paintings?
Not here. I don't have the
Somewhere,
photos of.
somewhere. I would love to show them because I'm
Yeah,
curious.
well, there. Yeah, I
Maybe
can
later.
send it to you. I can
Fantastic.
send it to you later. Yeah.
Fantastic. And what do you?
I won't send you any documents now, but I'll make a list or make a list and tell me what I need to send after.
Sounds very
Okay.
serious and professional. And what is your technique? What kind of materials you would use as a painter?
Well, these three paintings, two were made with wax, actually. Industrial wax, green one and brown one. And the other one was oil, but oil on paper, so it dries quite fast and
Ah,
it gives a kind of rugosity to the work. So
cool.
yeah.
So you know that I have a painting on the background.
Hmm.
It's my auto-portrait, self-portrait
Okay. Okay.
from many years ago.
You're standing in front of it, so I cannot see it. So
Ah,
okay.
it's a pipe. It's a pipe coming out of my mouth. It's
All right. All right.
and of
Okay.
course it's not the whole painting. It's maybe like one
Yeah, yeah. I saw it was a detail. Yeah.
little detail. Yes. And about performance art and perform being you a performance artist, how often do you have a chance to present your performances?
Oh, often in for a while in like my when I was a teenager, nearly, no, a little bit more than a teenager, but then I did, I don't know, in 3 years, I did quite, it was quite complex work, actually, sometimes using text and painting and quite a lot of work. And at that time, I did a lot. Then I turned to theater for a while in the 90s because yeah, it was kind of there was a kind of start again of history in somehow also with the AIDS crisis. I was very much involved in the ACT UP movement, created the group here in Belgium, and so the need of discourse or narratives became stronger, and I left performance art for yeah more or less 10 years, I would say, where I wrote plays and then I came back to performance arts as a practitioner, but more as a curator as well from the early 2000s.
Yeah. And since when you began, you found you since what age you found yourself being a performance artist?
Uh, as a teenager, actually, I just saw another thing this friend gave to me was he's an old friend and was a poster from 1980, and it was a performance made by an American artist who had been working with Robert Wilson and choreographers like Douglas Dunn. And yeah, she did this performance in which I participated in. And it was not my first work, but it was funny to see my name at the time, which was Strip Pickels. It was my punk name. And yeah, and it was, yeah, pretty experimental. And yeah, she was used to smoke a lot of pots before going in performance. So, but also during the rehearsals. So, you would learn your parts, but being totally stoned, and
How to
then
get prepared in a good way. Yeah.
yeah, and actually during the performance we were also very high, so but very precise actually. So it was because she was a very okay kind of Robert Wilson child kind of artist. So it's a very precise work in a way. So we were high and precise. Mm.
Cool. Did you stretch it later? Did you stretch this experience to your next performances in all the times? This kind of
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
did you
Sorry.
did you use the same method to get prepared later or
Oh. Not really. I'm not really into, how can I say? Of course, I did some body practice. I did some mask work, mime, tai chi, plenty of stuff. But I'm not really the kind of person who prepares physically before the performance.
Mhm.
I don't mm, handle that neither to my pupils or students. So yeah, yeah, I'm more going for it. But yeah, sometimes, like you do, sometimes yeah, the fact of working on the makeup or the appearance or something is a kind of preparation also, of course. But yeah, it's not like I would concentrate or something and pray before I perform, you know.
yeah. And
So,
did you have the goals of performance art when you began in your teenagers years?
sorry?
Who were your superstars when you began?
Oh, well, I happened to see there was this festival of experimental theater and live art and performance art that took place in the end of the 70s, actually, when I was more like 15, 16. And yeah, I remember Laurie Anderson. I actually translated "Oh Superman" in French for her when I was 15. Because a friend of mine was her assistant, and I actually translated "Oh Mom and Dad" and all this
Do
the
you
lines
remember? Could
in
you give us
French.
some lines? Give us some
I
lines.
remember we said "Au père et mère" instead of saying "Oh maman papa," which would have been the real translation, but it didn't sound right. Okay, so I said, no,
Doesn't matter. Everything is
you'd
good.
better say "Au père et mère." And actually, what was fun was that years later, in 2013 or 12, I think, I invited Laurie Anderson to present one of her work in my festival. And then I
Cool.
remembered, and it was in the same place, actually, not in the same hall. It was a much bigger hall where she would perform. But but then I remembered her that situation, which she didn't remember. But I was, it was kind of an introduction to when I contacted her to show her work. It was like, hello, we met once. I helped you to translate "Oh Superman" when you performed in Brussels in 79 or 78. It was.
Yeah. Such a
So,
lucky man you are.
mm.
And anybody else, like besides her?
Well, there was this woman who was doing, Tina Giroir was her name. She was American as well, and she was doing this quite abstract work with patterns. There was this movement of pattern painting in the United States at that time, and she was doing performances with pieces of fabric that would create some that the performers would move and it would create different figures, different patterns actually. So I
Mhm.
remember that. Yeah, I remember seeing Robert Wilson, and at that time his work was very, yeah, he wasn't doing operas or anything at that time. So I saw the Deaf Man's Contracts, where there is this ritual murder of two kids by the performance artist Cheryl Sutton,
Mhm.
where it lasted, I don't know, 3 hours. It was my first experience of a durational work, if you want. Um, yeah, I probably saw some work of Marina Abramovic at that time because there was this very interesting video art section of the national TV I mean, for the French-speaking part called Carré Noir, and they were producing video art made by performance artists, including Abramovich. So I saw that at that time because I was following this program. Yeah, I cannot remember everything, but this kind of stuff, yeah.
So what?
Antique,
Yeah,
antique.
well, but it's interesting, and also feel that statistically you are really much influenced by women artists, women performance artists.
Yeah, yeah.
You kind of
Um, yes, that's true. And even today, I have a hard time finding male performance artists sometimes. I try to, and particularly I try to find straight males, and because yeah, when you find a man, he's queer generally. So I've been working on for the Trouble Festival on researching men who were in a kind of deconstruction as well, but who were not gay, and it's quite difficult to find. I mean, to find interesting work. Probably because performance art is still something marginal and peripheric, and so yeah, men who stand at the summits of the pyramids, if you consider that being a white male Anglo-Saxon Protestant and living in New York is the summit of the pyramid. So men who stand there are not so interested in going into the that periphery in a way. Why should they leave the power position that they have to go to a less power position? Well, power being an exchange and not a position, but okay, in the relation of power, they would choose to be near the summit of the pyramid generally. So it's kind of difficult to find straight men, but it's kind of difficult to find straight men that find a nice sentence in itself, but who do interesting work in performance art for me.
mhm,
Or they have, in a way, or they endure another kind of marginal position because they're racialized, sick, handicapped, this kind of stuff, which makes them able perhaps to have the kind of point of view that I am interested in. So, yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's an interesting attitude. And what is performance art for you?
Sorry, what is it?
Yeah.
So I try not to do any definition. I find it yeah, useless. I think, and I think we lose a lot of time trying to define, even if it's defining like Rosalie Goldberg, art that defies definition. I think it's an easy way to go out of the thing. But um, I wrote a text about that some years ago. I could send it to you. Uh, what I look for is different qualities that are not always there, but if none of them is there, then I think it's hard that there is any chance of a performance. It can be something else that I can totally appreciate. I actually like theater. When I say that to some people in the performance art milieu, it's like, oh, theater. Well, they go like this. But I actually like theater. But when I curate a performance art festival or event, I try to find these different qualities. So being in front of the person and not of a character, even if the person uses a kind of character to show themselves better, which
Hmm.
is possible. Um, I try. I think of the place where that is given to the watchers. Um, is it a situation where they are witness or are they spectators? But it's a quite different concept for me.
Hmm.
There is in the quality of the presence, I am looking for a kind of fragility, porosity. I think that's something you see particularly with old performers because they have learned how to take off the different masks, and I really like to see old performers because of that. Um, to see them perform, I mean, because yeah, they get at this point where they are totally, you can enter in them, they are without defense in a way. And this is something I really appreciate. And yeah, that you see, it's really something that comes from experience. I don't think it's something you learn, but it's something you actually get rid of what you learned, perhaps of being a warrior or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, so these qualities, which others? Yeah, I'm looking at the piece also with, is the piece, um, can you repeat that piece really? And it can be repeated, it can be organized and precise, but is there a dimension of risk? Of course, so that can be very different. I mean, it can be psychological or physical, or but is there, or just playing on chance, but is there that space of risk? And yeah, perhaps the last thing is how much the piece is engaging the performer. How much is the performer committed to it? How important is this performance that they are doing? You
Hmm.
know. So yeah, I look for these different qualities. If sometimes one of them is missing or two of them are missing, but one of them is so strong that it's there. If none of these things are there, then I'm probably in front of a theater or dance piece, and I may like it, as I said, very much. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Antoine, do you remember the
Mhm.
movie of this famous American filmmaker, Woody Allen? You
Mhm.
remember in one of his movies he had a character, a blurry man. I guess I look a little bit like a blurry. A bl-
Oh,
yes, let's.
you or me?
I'm just trying to be less blurry.
Okay. I don't know what you can do, but for it, I don't
Magic.
have that sickness. I'm sorry, but
I just like. Okay, but do you have any criteria when you make selection of pieces for your festival?
mm, just what I told you. It's not criteria. It's qualities I'm looking for.
And for example, if it's a new piece, like totally new production, how do you know?
Yeah, how do I know? I know because I have the confidence, or at least I take the risk
Ah,
that the artist will match some of these qualities. Generally, the way I work is that it's not that I select people through criteria. I open conversations with them, and the conversation goes to something interesting or not.
yeah.
And often it's just so generally I'm quite open. Sometimes I see that the work has really nothing to do, because the word performance is used in many sense, and sometimes there is just we're not on
Hmm.
uh, the same track at all. So I stop the conversation even before it starts. But when I started, yeah, of course, it's questions that come up in the discussion, the production discussion also, on how is it produced, what does it call for, what kind of space does it need, what kind of audience or watchers, I prefer the word watchers, relation, um, what means does it take also? Some projects are very expensive and for good reasons, but I'm generally not rich enough. But sometimes I find partnership that uh, um,
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
moment.
that make me that make possible to present works, that I what
A good
what are you
moment to
doing?
ask a question. A good moment for a
Okay.
question, because
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt you. But I have a question. My question is about funding. Yes, because
Yeah.
you said we have some partner, somebody who is really supporting this. Do you have some support from the state?
Yeah. Well, actually, the structure I work with has regular money for 5 years, every 5 years, since sometimes. The current contract we have that with that authority is that we have made that official room for performance art in the program.
Yeah,
A lot of the program is creating dance, but then there is a part of the program that is devoted to presenting and sometimes producing performance art. And then I generally look for more money because it's not enough. And so I am looking a little bit everywhere. I can find support from Europe to the local town,
yeah.
that can. Sometimes it's not money, it's a space, it's facilities, printing, some different stuff. But yeah,
But how do
unfortunately,
you feel?
a
Yeah.
big part of the curator's work is to also go and beg,
Mhm.
like this.
Yeah. And how do you feel the whole situation with performance art in general? Because I know that in Belgium it goes not that terrible, and still in many other countries, performance art is still like on the bottom. With
Mm,
many cases, it's not paid. Many times, it's just like even festivals, they are okay to invite you with no honorarium, and
yeah, I know.
it's like, do
Yeah, I
you
kind of
feel?
fight against that since of course, I made things without money myself as an artist, and I will do it again if the context is, there's no money and I really want to be there, but I really try to fight against that situation. Actually, when we created Trouble back in 2005, there was that very interesting discussion where there was some artists who were, traveling the whole world, being not paid, and finding it super sweet and super nice. And but at the same time, also when you see older performance artists that come, to a point where they end their life and they have nothing to survive on, and they cannot pay for their health insurance and all that. I think it's not right. So I try to, well, I always pay first, even if it's not much, and yeah, I try to raise as much money as I can for them. Uh, what I see is, in a way, it's getting better. I think it's getting better. Um, why? Uh, because since the 2000s, a lot of people who were more in the field of experimental theater or contemporary dance are coming within this world of performance art, and they come with their system. That is where they have been defending their social rights better than visual artists very often, because they have a sense of the collective, and you just, if yeah, you there is a kind of a there are different economy logics that are at work in theater or dance, and so these people come and they impose in a way their criteria economically. But also in the visual art world, before, performance was, something, an amusement for the opening, and then it was nothing serious, because what was serious was the piece that you could sell and capitalize on.
Mhm.
Now you have many artists who are performance artists who have won big prizes like the Turner Prize, or who have been present in the Biennale di Venezia, the Documenta, or anything. Documenta since a long time already, but I mean, it's something kind of more regular. And so, and also some collectors start collecting performances. So they collect a principle sometimes, or a documentation, or a score, or the possibility of having the performance being made or remade, sometimes by somebody else. But so there is a kind of even the art market, the big art market, because there are many markets for arts. There's also, people who paint little clowns and say sell it in the tourist area in Brussels. It's an art market as well. But if you consider the big art market, okay, they are now considering performance art as a possible value.
Could you tell about your experience about being a teacher? Could you call me a teacher of a performance art?
Oh yeah, my title is professor, but
That's
I
a
teach I
yes.
teach myself. I don't know. It's so my experience is that in a way I keep on being a curator there. I also practice, but I also give some practice. But what I do is that I bring together for a quite short period of time in the year, and it's not the main option the art students are following. It's a kind of complementary option that they can take. Okay, they would do either performance art, either art book, either digital art, either sound art or something like that, is transversal, and anything that is transversal, and not anything. It's organized, of course, and they. Yeah, so it's a chosen course, of course,
Mm.
and so I bring together artists to come to share their practices in different manners, generally six of them. I generally bring also one or two people who share their knowledge through talks or conferences. And so I curate in a way the coming of these different artists. I create a kind of experimental bubble of research, if you want.
Mhm.
And at the end of that period, there is a moment with public presentation. Before that, there can be, for example, work in the public space where there is watchers,
Mhm.
but mostly it's in the bubble that it happens, except for the end where there's a kind of a coming out with people who watch, and yeah, that's my work. And then it's for some of them it's only an experience that they won't go on with, but that may be very nourishing. I know a woman who she was studying book binding, and she followed that course, and she became a publisher now of very beautiful art books. And she does a lot about performance art, or she works with performers who do books. Some painters have used the changed relation to their body that happened during the course, change their painting, and, just in a very gestural way, sometimes only. Uh, and for some of them, generally, I don't know, 10% perhaps, performance art becomes an important practice in what they do, or
Mhm.
the only one they do. So often it's with something else, but sometimes they don't do anything anymore after but performance art, so because they become crazy about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's about your program? So it's a long-lasting course. So like, how many classes do you have usually?
It's not so long lasting. It's on 8 weeks or something like that we work, not the full week. Some weeks or 2 weeks are kind of full in the beginning and the end. And then in between, it's yeah, these experiences of 2 days with each time a guest. And I follow, of course, I am not teaching, but I am coming regularly to see how the work develops. And yeah, my job is also to discuss with the young artists about what they are discovering and telling, oh yeah, that this is something that perhaps you should try to go on with, or the contrary. Sometimes yeah, it's really not your thing, but that's okay. It's also we really start with the principle that uh, a performance cannot be um, réussi, a success or a failure. There's nothing like a failure. Okay, so that's said from the beginning. But there is a question about, is this performance right or is this performance wrong? So it's not the question of success or failure, it's the question of right or wrong in regards to the artist, not in regard to, but in regard to the artist. And yeah, and of course, sometimes the watchers also, because as a young artist, you do a performance and you don't
Mhm.
mind sometimes how you can hurt people, for example. Hurt physically sometimes. Actually, it happened, or yourself. But yeah, more often emotionally, you can hurt people. So where do you find that place where you touch people, but you don't hurt them? So that's one thing I work on, for example. And it's not something so easy to understand for a young artist because you're just experimenting everything, and so.
And I guess now I got more sharp. I made some adjustments in my settings.
Okay.
Okay, so and 2005 you began your festival.
Hmm.
How it happened? Like why?
So it happened because okay, I became the coordinator of the public program of a place called Les Halles, and the director asked me to think of. So we were a team with one person working more on music, one person working more on dance, one person working more on circus. So a very big space called Les Halles in Brussels. And at that time, yeah, the place had a kind of loss of identity. It was not very clear for people what was done there. And also, you're in Brussels, there's a big offer of different stuff, and everybody's offering a little bit the same plate. So, yeah, we had to find a way of being, yeah, distinct, different. And I had been so I yeah, I had been the years before quite a bit in UK, where there was all this live art, very powerful moments with also so people who had worked on presentation, of course, production, of course, but also on the academic level, also on the teaching level in the art schools. There was the Live Art Development Agency that was at its peak at the time, and there was that festival called the National Review of Live Art, where that I really liked. I really liked the openness of it, and also the intensity, the fact that there was so many stuff going on for 5 days, and you were, I don't know, seeing 10 things a day at least. Uh, yeah, and in a very open way to look at performance art and live art. It was also, I mean, the main curator, Nikki Milliken, was initially a performance artist herself in the 70s, but yeah, she had opened her eyes to other contexts, and so she brought together very different artists. But she was also, well, she and the people working with her, because it was not, there was a group of people proposing stuff. And she and the people around were how can I say, they didn't want to be part of what was presented in every city in Europe at that time. You know, where you would find always the same names in contemporary dance or theater.
Mhm.
You know, all this, there was a kind, this network, the IETM, which had been very strong. And so there was this kind of a leveling, but that I didn't find very interesting, because you would see the same piece in Lisbon or in Bergen or in Berlin or in Paris, and with a kind of common good taste like this. So there was this positioning that I really appreciated, and the mix of raw performance artists, sometimes historical ones, but also people who could come from totally different backgrounds, and but that would do something with a performance dimension. So yeah, so I actually, in that space, I started presenting performance art, but by itself, I would say, in the season, you know, and it was very difficult in terms of audience. Nobody would come. Everybody was afraid. There was Brussels had been really a place for performance art in the 70s, 80s, but then it was totally erased, that past in a way. So it was like a thing of the past only. Of course, there were some artists doing some performance art, but they were considered with some well, not disgust, but you know, with condescendance. Yeah, from a superior point of view like this. So, so that's why I went to the former festival. Um, and also, I was, for the two first edition, very pedagogical. So, and in a way, we kept that over the years. So there is always a reflexive moment. Of course, today the questions are not the same, but at that time, we really went back to the fundamentals to re-explain people what could be performance art. And yeah, and we showed quite strong work.
Do you
Uh,
remember who were your artists in the first editions?
in the first edition, there was quite a lot of British people, actually, like Robert Pasiti, but there was also what's her name? Fabio Balducci and Marie. Can't remember the name of Marie now, who were based in France. Or there was an artist from Antwerp named Nico Ras, who did body work really very marked by the Raneti, Franco B family kind of stuff. Um, there was some more pop artists as well. And on the second edition, I was also showing Stephen Cohen from South Africa, but also Black Market International, all together for a long performance, but also some solo works. I think it was also at that time that I showed Larry Bott, but she had never been performing in Belgium. Actually, quite a lot of people who came to the festival became well known after. You know, I mean, they could have been really well known already in their countries, but they were really unknown in Belgium, and so. Yeah, it became a kind of recipe where that people would have confidence in, where they would know in a way that they would be surprised, that they, you know, that they would be in context where the format, the duration, the relation to the watchers, the all this could move and be unconventional, and people came for that, you know. So they came for this kind of surprise. It was funny because at that time I discussed with a French artist I worked with later on another project, but from Les Gens du Terpan, Franck, Les Gens du Turpan, and he was doing this very interesting projects, but that took place in museums or theaters
Mhm.
by surprise, where naked people would roll on the audience from the top of the audience, not telling to anybody that it was going to take place, and actually not even the theater where it was taking place, or doing totally dirty stuff in museums. But what the problem was that if he would present that in the case of trouble, people would just find it normal, because it was part of, so the dimension of interrogation of the institution didn't work because the space was a space of unexpected experiences.
Mhm.
So, so it was very fast like this. The audience grew. It went in different directions. Of course, there was always a dimension of reflection at some points, often some kind of workshops or, transmission place where I would also connect that to my other work in the art school, of course, but also to other art schools. Um, because that's also very important, of course, because you build the community. Really, I had been very impressed by how this community was strong in UK, even when the government was not helping them. They were, together. And so building the community is having these different elements in a way. Also having the time to think, the time to learn or transfer some knowledge or know-how in a way. It's also important that there is a place for partying or for meeting. Um, and yeah, very often, and more actually in the last editions of the festival, I worked. Yeah, originally I didn't work much site specifically or in the public space because we had this space that was huge and that it was even difficult to fill, because it was so big.
Yeah.
So we didn't feel the need to go somewhere else. But then when we transferred the project to the studio tour, which is smaller, we were obliged in a way, but that was a good obligation to look for other places. And then we started doing much more work either in places that are not done at all for culture or arts, either in collaboration with other spaces of who show
Yeah.
work. That's actually even more recent, because now what happens is that other structures in Brussels are very often much bigger than us, who have more means, more space, more teams, um, are are wishing to do collaborations with us because it's a place where they could show, or we could show in their place, something different from what they usually do, you know. So so that's a rather new development in a way, which is dangerous as well, because these places are more institutional, and sometimes the building itself brings that, because it looks like a theater, or it looks like a museum. And so, and sometimes you need a white cube or a black box for some works, but also the work on the public space came from the fact that because it's really stopped for 5 years, I think, trouble at one point. And at that time, I became the curator of another festival called Signal, where we worked mainly on the public space and we gathered people working on art in the public space for some workshops, discussions, conferences, and so forth. And so I really, I learned something then on the interest of being in the public space. So that's something that as I told you today, this morning I was visiting the public space with this artist to see where
Hmm.
giant could go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see, I do have around 10 more questions, and I'm gonna nail polish
Okay.
one of my fingers after making one more next question. And so you began 2005, and you began as a curator, as a director, or what was your what kind of roles did you have inside of this festival?
Artistic director of the festival, but I was also the artistic coordinator of the whole program for a time. And but as I told you, we worked in a team with
How
some
big is the
kind
team?
of a
How
focus.
big is the team? How
We
big?
were a group of five people, I think, doing five or six music, circus, dance, uh, literature and politics, political debate, and yeah, I was doing theater and live art, performance art. So
So it was a group of friends, or it was a group of just people who.
no, it was a group that was brought together by the director of that place at the time, who unfortunately passed away quite fast. She had a terrible cancer, and so we went on a little bit without her, and then some another direction came in, but
Mhm.
who yeah who kept working with me at least on the for Trouble, and yeah, and then came another director for the whole structure who was not interested in live art. So that's when it stopped there, and that I was doing this other festival. And then, but then there were, people were asking me, "Oh, when do you do again something like Trouble, etc." So um, I also had in between that the experience of leading, directing a place myself, where we did a lot of performance, not only, but that was a house for the performing arts. It was the subtitle of the place, La Bellone. And so that was interesting because it was in a way building the community on a more yeah regular thing, something happening every 2 months or something, or every month that would deal with performance art. So it became a kind of a um, yeah, kind of a light in the city where you knew that there was a possibility there. But
Okay,
yeah, yeah, that's it.
next one. The name of a festival. Who found this name? Who chose the name?
Me. Yeah, I don't know. I was interested because it's polysemic if you consider its meaning in French and in English. It's not the same. Trouble in English is okay, you create trouble, trouble can happen in the streets, but there's not this idea of blurry thing. And where in French you have the idea of something that is blurry, unclear.
Ah,
Um, yeah, so that dimension is so French-speaking people hear that dimension. They often put an S. They make it plural, which is not right actually, but where the English-speaking people see more the offensive creation of accidents that there is in the English meaning of the word. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah. So, comment, let me practice my French. Comment tu t'appelles, comment tu prononces ce mot? How
Trouble,
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 trouble. It sounds a
trouble.
bit fun, yeah. So
Yeah.
trouble.
Trouble, trouble.
Yeah. So if I'm a Belgique, si je suis Belgique, si je veux nommer, si je veux lire ce mot,
Mhm.
je dois lire comme trouble. Trouble.
Euh, Tu ne dois pas. Anyway, Brussels is a quite a cosmopolitan city
Yeah.
where plenty of people that don't speak French or speak French but speak another language at home or speak,
No, 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 I mean,
three languages a day or five, and so it's very often there is this kind of a well, and the meaning of the word in English is also understood by many. So
yeah.
so you have this double entendre, as you say in good English, because it's not something you say in French, actually, double entendre, but it exists in English, but this double meaning is present for many people.
But so native people like locals, they would also call the festival as a trouble. Yeah, so it has just at the moment one name trouble. Yeah, they can
Sorry,
also.
sorry.
The local people, like people who live, people from Brussels,
Yeah, it depends on who they are, but
but the
the
position or the
the city
position.
is really very cosmopolitan, and the audience of trouble is also because
No,
the roads
my
are
point
also.
my point is a bit different. That if so, the positioning of the name, do you present it as a trouble or do you present in both languages, or it doesn't really matter?
I generally say the two languages, and
Okay,
some French-speaking people call it trouble, and
okay, yeah, I see.
some
Yeah,
English-speaking people find it so nice to say trouble,
trouble.
well,
Yes,
and
yeah,
difficult to say, but
j'aime beaucoup. Yes, trouble, trouble.
mm.
Yes, it sounds more natural for me. Trouble. Yes. Okay. So number three. Uh, so could you tell about your biggest fuck up being a director of the festival?
Biggest fuck up. Uh, I call it an achievement, you know. I call it an achievement. What do you mean by fuck up?
Um, what is fuck up? Oh, of course, it depends. It depends the positioning of the situation and time. For example, in the first moment, it could be like it's a catastrophe. Everything just falls apart,
Uh,
and something that was really, for example, like Didi Bern, like 2015, one of the theaters during performance, or kind of because of some misregulations of event, or like
mhm, mhm.
or some
Um,
kind of like this. I don't know how you identify.
I cannot really think of that actually because when I really include recently there was an article that was written by an American critic who was there the two last editions.
Mhm.
Perhaps you met her,
Yeah, yeah.
Jenny Klein, and she wrote about risk and failure actually, and but also as failure as being the risk of failure and the fact of failure being part of performance art and being
Yeah,
a good element of performance art because it's what makes the performance a performance, and the performer somebody you're attached to in a way because they have this risk of failure. So I don't really. I've had failures, I think, in terms of curation, sometimes with things that were not enough taking risks. And where the audience can know that very fast, where the work is not radical enough. And I don't know, I expected the work to be more radical, but in a way, in the end, it's a bit. There was small failures of younger artists sometimes also, because they're very young, but they are in this part of the festival called Fragile, and it's part of the festival to know that this work is more fragile because it's younger artists that have an easier failure than others. But then some things that were very risky and kind of catastrophic were are still in the minds of everybody. I I don't think of something in trouble, but I think of a work of a Chinese artist I showed in this other place that I was directing, the House of Performing Arts. Xiao Lu, she's an artist from China, and she did this piece called Drank, where she drank, well, with the audience, fortunately, who shared the bottles of wine she had brought.
Mhm.
And but she never drinks. And so she got really drunk and she got into coma.
Oh,
And an ambulance had to come. I had to go with her to the hospital. And before that, she had been vomiting on people and crying and laughing and I mean, went quite fast into a state of really strong drunkenness. And today this piece is in a museum actually, and it was a very emotional work and a very good work in the concept, but also in the radicality of it. So you can. It was a catastrophic, but it was certainly not. What was the word you fuck up? The word you used in my sense. So
Okay, Antoine, have you ever been in trouble because of your festival?
if I have been in trouble, yeah, I've had problems with things on fire that were not secured enough. Well, it was okay. Nobody was hurt, never actually. But then there was some, yeah, problems coming from that. I had no censorship ever. So this I must say that anything I showed, I never had and experienced some censorship. I've been in trouble for external reasons also, like the COVID. Okay, we did one edition during the COVID. It was one of the best. Actually, it was really good because we had to multiply the spaces and find very big spaces where people could have space between them and all that, and it really pushed us to very interesting stuff, but it was a nightmare to organize. Organizing things in the public space is a nightmare. You get the authorization generally
Mhm.
the day before, so you don't know if it's going to be possible. It's very stressy, um, you know. But yeah, it's part of the game, of course. During the festival, we're sometimes that the team is getting really angry against not especially me, but the artist.
It's you. So the team is angry with you. Yeah, like
With me or with the artist, because some artists.
how do you handle so for because team is a big one, yeah? Like so it's how many people do you have now?
Uh, it's a small team during the whole year, and then it gets bigger 1 month before.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, sometimes you have artists that are assholes, but that can be very good artists. Or the contrary, you can have very bad artists who are very nice. And in the end,
But whom you choose?
in the end, the team prefers
The Shita.
the one who do good work, but who are
Okay.
some handle difficult to handle. But that's
Okay.
only in the end. It's only in the end when they realize that
When
it
it's
was worth
time to
it.
go home, yeah, like yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So number five.
Hmm.
Uh you already said, but I don't know. Your favorite edition of a festival.
Sorry?
What is your favorite edition when
So I really like that one during COVID. There was a really interesting one we made. You were speaking of women artists, and it was, yeah, strong women. Some of them being not born women, but strong women anyway, that who were there. And I mean, of course, since a long time, the feminist issues are part of the program, but that year it was really taking an interesting shape. Yeah, it's very difficult to say sometimes, because it's not. Um, yeah, what is important is when I feel that there is an experience that has been built through the 4 or 5 days of the festival, that when the works answer to each other and kind of, yeah, create a kind of a visibility of these conversations or this conversation that I have had with all the artists on the process of yeah, curating the work. Um, Sometimes I'm not totally satisfied. with some works also, or I don't find that this answering works so well. So I don't know, we change, it's different every time, you know. So sometimes it's the relation in the audience between the people is more interesting because there are more crossovers. I don't like it so much when people become, just coming from for that thing because that's their chapel, their church. So the performance art lovers would come only to performance art, radical artists, and more dance-oriented people would come, people coming from the choreographic field only, and that's not interesting to me. So I really try to create traps so people are obliged to see,
Mhm,
different works and yeah,
mhm.
and exposed to um, foreign aesthetics as well, because that's I explained to you in why in the beginning we created the festival. It was really based on the idea of cultural difference, not having the same thing as you would see in every city in Europe at that time, but seeing things that were, yeah, of different aesthetics, you know.
Can I tell you one thing that was kind of disturbing because I've been to your last festival in Brussels,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I don't remember exactly the name of a program, but it was all in French. It was,
Yeah.
let's say, day number three or something, and pretty much all events, all performances which had lots of text, they had no
Mhm.
zero, no nothing, no text,
Yeah.
no little text,
Mhm.
and it was, I guess, a big for international festival. It's a kind of
Mhm.
not super cool.
Yeah, it's difficult, I know, but at the same time, the 80% of the population speak French. Of course, local artists want to use their own language. I'm not total. I think of that, of course. I try to think of it, but then sometimes you have, uh, yeah, you.
Subtitles, subtitles.
Yeah, we did
Or
that. We
a
did that
little,
sometimes. But
little
how do
text, little
how
text
do
to read.
okay? How do you do subtitles for something that is totally improvised and that is really in the moment?
No, no, it
That
was about, I'm speaking specifically about pieces that had a text. I guess it was staged text and prepared text, and but I don't know for sure because I
yeah,
didn't know what happened. Even if I speak a bit of French, so for me it was so beautiful, and I would love to get more, but
yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
let's make next
Yeah,
time better.
it's difficult. You know, it's another imperialist language. I mean, just like English. So yeah, sometimes people want that also. So I mean, artists. I understand that you want to work in your own language. Sometimes, if you use words and not go into globish that you don't speak so well, like we do. Well, you speak better than me, but. Still we speak Globish, right? It's not English that we speak. So
As soon we understand
should
each
everything in
other,
terms
I'm
should
feeling
everything
good.
in terms of text become Globish, you know? So I don't know.
I'm not that snobbish in terms of language, so if somebody is not fine, just
Esperanto, I'm pleading for, but I don't find any artist who works in Esperanto. Too
okay.
sad.
Next performance in Esperanto, and okay, number six. I don't know
Okay, we
the
have six
number.
minutes now. Yeah, it's going to be very short, the
We should
answers.
be super fast. My nail number six. Do you have a question for me?
Do I have a question for you? No. That's an easy answer.
That was fast. Okay. My question number seven. I should start polishing, nail polishing my number seven. And what's about your next festival? How soon it will be? How soon we shall send you the proposals?
How do I what?
How soon the next edition of your festival gonna happen?
Trouble is in 2027. Now it's Passy Fragile, but that's yeah, dedicated to younger artists, emerging artists from Belgium. So it's who are out of the the art schools recently, or even going out just now. So it's a different thing that happens on one day only this time. It depends. Sometimes it's on different days, but then it's 27, and I don't know at all where the conversation will lead me. I have seen works that I really liked, and people that I found really super interesting. I should start at a certain point the conversation, but it's a bit too early now.
I see.
And you
But
know,
I believe you're gonna give me a hint how.
it's in April anyway.
Fantastic. Okay,
There might be something about memory and Marcel
that's my
Proust.
topic. I have such a bad memory for everything, so I definitely should participate.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Number eight. Eight. Number
Mhm.
eight. What is your question to yourself?
What is the question to
To
myself?
yourself, exactly.
Pum, 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 pum. What is the question to myself? How do I keep on enlarging the 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 minds or the spaces of the for the minds of people. How do I enlarge it in a time where things are shrinking and where yeah, we're in front of fascism, right? So, yeah, nearly everywhere in the world, so rising, and so it's very strange because most of the story of trouble has been so far more an idea where there was more place for I don't know, trans people, for example. That's a good example, and now transphobia is kind of used by so many political parties in so many countries. So this space that had been opening on um, uh, non-binary possibilities and
Yeah,
trans life is suddenly, it opened, and now it closes. And so that's how do you keep on enlarging or keeping a space when it shrinks? Yeah.
I see. And do you feel that performance art is still, or at all, how do you feel if performance art has any kind of impact on life, on social life, on artistic life?
Yeah, I'm sure it has. Well, it has an important part in an important impact on publicity, images that are made for the big medias. So that's one thing. So I think that's already an impact that we don't consider often enough. The costumes of Lady Gaga wouldn't have existed without the work of some body artist, some other body artist. But I also think that it is actually a very open form of art because the fact that it doesn't correspond to certain canon, to certain laws, like theater can be, like dance can be, like opera can be, makes it more easy to access for many people, actually. So I never had audiences who felt that it was, I don't know, too complicated for them. You know what I mean? So because that's something that happens when you are okay taken into this big theater, red and gold, and with all these people behaving in a very proper way, and there you feel like shit. So that's the that's
One
an
minute,
impact, I think.
and that's
Yeah,
1 minute.
yeah, it's 1 minute. Okay.
How do you know if it's a good performance art or
How do I know if it's good performance art? Um, I don't know. I told you already. It's not a question of value. It's not a question of success or failure. It's a question of that it's right or wrong, and the right or wrong.
for you.
for me resides in these qualities that I named, fragility, person, not character, blah blah blah, all that, you know. So that's yeah, that's the elements.
Yeah.
Beautiful fingers. You've worked well. Now you can
Merci
all clean
beaucoup. You
them.
did great. We did great. Merci beaucoup. À bientôt.
Voilà.
And
I,
best luck for your festival. Thank you so much for
best luck for everything. Bye bye.
everything. Ciao.
Ciao.